In what was a very RTS-rich November of 2024, we got to playtest this awesome indie sci-fi real-time strategy game called ZeroSpace, and I must admit, I was very impressed with its progress. You might look at it and say that you have seen and played it like before, even 20 years ago, but that is why I'm here to tell you about all the new things these developers added to make this game feel at home in 2025. First of all, in terms of gameplay, all the UI and control improvements, like the fact that the developers want you to be able to customize the UI to suit your way of playing, and this is something they have been working on since the game's inception. One of the simplest UI changes that is welcomed by all RTS games is that the unit bar shows all available unit or hero abilities at the same time. In ZeroSpace, there is no hunting down of individual units or heroes to be able to cast their ability or spell, or tabbing between unit types you have selected. They are all right in front of you, including the cooldown timers. Another big brain feature that ZeroSpace developers have added is how you can pick production and unit upgrades directly from the bottom of your UI. There is no need to go back to base or use a control group on your unit production buildings. You simply hit a key or click the icon and just order up your new units. Same with the upgrades for units, which even have mini tech trees. But do note that each unit tier does need a specific building to unlock its research. And on the subject of control groups, units produced will automatically be added to an existing control group, eliminating the need for you to keep manually adding new units to your existing control groups, but if you really want to, you can turn this feature off or on in the options. One more unit group related feature is the ability to drag and draw unit formations by holding the right mouse button and moving your mouse. It is something players of Beyond All Reason are already familiar with, and something that more and more RTS games are incorporating in their gameplay. Another thing that is automated to reduce the number of actions the players have to make in the base building and resource collection part of gameplay is expanding of local mines around each HQ building. There are only nodes which become used by the HQ building automatically, while collectors are used only for the second type of resources, which is more spaced out across the map, and those you do have to produce on your own and also protect them as they go around the map. I would love to hear what you think of these gameplay changes, and did you like them during the playtest? I particularly like one major gameplay design, which is the existence of experience-generating towers on maps, which once captured, contribute to your faction's accumulated XP points. Once you have enough XP, you can choose a faction power or an upgrade and use it during the match. This actually helps to prevent snowballing effects from one player having an upper hand and XP farming another player after the first decisive skirmish onward, because here you can take away the enemy's towers and gain XP for your faction without having to defeat his units or hero first, and he can't be at 3 places at the same time.
Unit production complete.
I should also mention the fact that ZeroSpace is designed around individual factions which play similarly but have different units, heroes and abilities. Additionally, this old style of gameplay is spiced up with the introduction of Mercenary factions. These offer customization to each player when choosing the faction and mercenary combo to play with, and make mirror matches between the same faction far more interesting. I have talked about the factions and mercenaries more in my previous videos on ZeroSpace, which you can find linked up here on the right and down in the description. The second important aspect of what makes ZeroSpace belong to 2025 are several very different game modes to play in. The most novel of all is the Galactic Warfare, which, while designed to be a massive multiplayer online galaxy, still allows you to play just by yourself versus the AI. This mode is about conquering planets for your chosen faction or fortifying owned ones, but there are 3 possible ways in which you can play it. The mentioned single player versus AI, co-op with other players versus AI, and player versus player. I personally think this is a great idea, because it finally creates a bridge between the player base, which is single player focused, and the one that enjoys testing their skill and action per minute against other players. There are several types of missions in this Galactic Warfare mode already, with more to come as it gets expanded in future versions of the game. It is high time an RTS project manages to get the MMO aspect right, and I have hope the developers behind ZeroSpace are on the right track. I was lucky enough to get matched in one of these missions with an experienced player, so I got to learn from him and quickly adapt to various side objectives while guarding this massive mech on its path to rearm and equip for the final map showdown. Now, as for more usual game modes, there is this co-op survival mode, where you have 2 players trying to survive 10 enemy waves with day and night cycles, capturable secondary objectives across the map, and a central base with a limited building area. It is definitely not a new concept, and it still requires a lot of balancing, but I personally felt it was incredibly well suited to be a sort of an unscripted faction tutorial for new players. This is because you do not have base scroll in this game mode, but a central small base at which you produce units and see how well they fare against waves of different enemies. You upgrade them with tech, unlock new unit abilities, learn about the game's fog of war, line of sight, unit ranges, and how best to combine them. Even with the unfortunate situation where the second player in my game disconnected in the first seconds of the match, I was still able to solo this game mode and get very familiar with one of the factions. This brings us to the most basic game modes. There is the multiplayer matchmaking for 1v1, 2v2, free-for-all PvP games, and also games with other players but versus AI. This worked really well, as there were definitely enough players to let me find a match quickly, even with this being just a playtest. Besides the matchmaking aspect, there was also your regular solo skirmish versus AI and custom games set up by individual players you could see on a list and join up. With this wealth of modes to play in, the community might have been spread far and wide, but this kind of game design ensures everyone finds a way to enjoy ZeroSpace in an environment they find most appealing. And once they are confident enough in their skills and learned a lot about the game, they might just decide to try other game modes as well, mixing the player population across game modes. Of course, this is a double-edged sword, and the community might end up being so fragmented that no one finds enough players in any given game mode to have fun in it. It is a risk these developers have taken, and we will see what happens. The one major part of the game's content that wasn't available during this playtest is the cinematic story campaign. This is the main content for most of the RTS player population and their gateway to the rest of it. I will bring you news and videos of it once it is ready for the public and the developers give a green light for content creators to show it. For more RTS games, check out the cards on the screen and links in the description. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!